All right, so we are starting the recording for chapter 1.4. Okay, this is a follow-up from 1.2. And let me go ahead and start solving the equations. Remember that now that we have an equation, it's going to be a little bit different. So now that we're solving the equations, this is going to be a little bit different. Okay, so remember that the first step into simplifying expressions is going to be always getting rid of the parentheses. Okay, and then combining like terms. So the next step is going to be adding and subtract. This is not PEMDAS. Okay, getting rid of additions and subtractions. Sending things to one side of the equation from the left to the right or from the right to the left until everything is gone, every addition and subtraction is gone. And then we can get rid of multiplications and divisions. Okay, so for this first example, the first equation, I have 8x plus 2 equals 34. Okay, so I'm going to try to follow these steps. The first thing to get rid of is going to be the parentheses, which we don't have any. So that's good. Okay, and then the next thing is going to be additions and subtractions, which we have. Okay, so the ultimate goal right now is to send all the letters or all the terms that have a letter to one side of the equation and all the numbers to the other side of the equation. Okay, so it doesn't matter which side you send this to, right? You can send those to the left or to the right. It's going to be perfectly fine. Okay, so I'm going to choose to send this number to the right side of the equation. Okay, and I'm going to do so by getting the opposite operation of a positive 2. Okay, so the opposite operation of a plus 2 is going to be a negative 2. Okay, so if I subtract that, this number is going to disappear from the left. Now, remember that in order to keep the integrity of the equation, whatever you do to the left side of the equal sign, you have to do to the right side of the equal sign. So if I subtract 2 from the left, I have to subtract 2 from the right. And remember that each time that you do one of these mathematical operations or transformations, you have to combine like terms. Okay, so if I subtract 2 from both sides of the equation, on the left side, those 2's are going to cancel out. All I'm going to have left is going to be 8x. And on the right side of the equation, I have to combine those like terms, 34 minus 2, and that's going to be 32. At this point, I don't have any more additions or subtractions, so I can move to the third step, which is getting rid of multiplications and divisions. I'm going to go ahead and divide by 8, since the left side has a multiplying 8 right next to the x. And if I divide by 8 the left side, I have to divide by 8 the right side. Okay, those numbers cancel out. So x equals 32 divided by 8. That's going to be 4. Okay, that's going to be my solution. Solution is 4, or the set of numbers that include only 4. Okay, that's going to be my answer. And how do I know this answer is correct? If I take 4 and substitute the x and do PEMDAS to both sides of the equation, they have to be the same. They have to yield the same result. Okay, so let's go ahead and take the same process to this next example. Okay, always the first thing to get rid of is parentheses, and then addition, subtractions, and then I'm going to get rid of multiplications and divisions. Okay, first thing, we don't have any parentheses in there. We're going to move to the next step, which is additions and subtractions. I will have to get rid of plus and minus, sending things from one side to the other of the equation until all of the sums are gone. Okay, so the goal is to send all the letters to one side of the equation and all of the numbers to the other side of the equation. Okay, so right now I'm going to choose to send, and it makes no difference, right? You can send the letters to the left or to the right. It's going to be the same thing. I'm going to choose to send the letters to the right side, so I have to send this negative 4 to the other side. And the way to do this is by doing the opposite operation of negative 4, which is positive 4. But if I do this to the left side of the equation, I have to do the same thing to the right side of the equation. Okay, so that's going to be negative 4 and positive 4. They are going to cancel out. So all I have left in the left side is going to be positive 1. And on the right side, I have a 7. And 5x plus 4x, I have to combine like terms. Remember, here in between, always, every single time you get rid of a parenthesis or get rid of an addition subtraction, you have to combine like terms. So 5 plus 4, that's going to be 9x. Okay, this is where we're going to be right now, 9x. And then I have to get rid of a number, right? If I decided to send the letters to the right side, then I have to send the numbers by themselves to the left side of the equation. Okay, so I have a positive 7. The only way to get rid of a positive 7 is going to be subtracting 7. And if I subtract 7 from the right side, I have to subtract 7 from the left side. Okay, if you combine like terms, those 7s are going to cancel out. On the left, you have 1 minus 7, which is going to be negative 6 equals 9x. Okay, now that I don't have any more additions and subtractions, this is just a negative 6. There's nothing being subtracted or added there. Okay, but once you're done with all the additions and subtractions, you move to the third step, which is multiplications and divisions. And I can see that I have a multiplying 9 to the x. So in order to get rid of multiplying 9, I have to divide by 9. If I do this, I will have to divide by 9 the left side of the equation as well. Okay, when you combine like terms, the 9's cancel out. So all I have left on the right side is going to be the x. And on the left side is going to be negative 6 divided by 9. And this is going to be correct. But every single time that you have a fraction, you have to reduce it to the lowest terms. So if I have negative 6 over 9, I should be able to divide those two numbers by the same whole number, and that is going to reduce my fraction. Okay, so if I choose to divide by 3, since I can divide both numbers by 3, I have to do so. Okay, so negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2, and 9 divided by 3, that's going to be positive 3. This is going to be my fraction in the lowest terms. Okay, this is the option that I'm looking for. Negative 2 over 3, or it's also written as negative 2 over 3. Those two things are the exact same equivalent thing. Okay. Let me get some more examples here. Okay. What happens if I have fractions? How do I deal with fractions? Okay. So the rules are going to be, in essence, the same rules. Okay. First, I have to get rid of parentheses, and then I have to get rid of plus and minus, and then multiplications and divisions. Okay, but when you have fractions, the easiest way to do, or the best way to do, is just to get those removed first. Okay, so I'm just going to come up with a step 0 or something before every other step, which is getting rid of fractions. Okay, in order to get rid of all those fractions, let me just move my list of numbers from here to here, or over here. Okay, in order to get rid of the fractions, I will have to calculate the least common denominator. Okay, so first of all, the least common denominator, the smallest number that can be divided by 4, can be divided by 2, and can be divided by 3. Okay, so my least common denominator on this case is going to be 12, because 12 you can divide it by 4, divide by 2, and divide by 3. So every single time that you have fractions, you will have to calculate the LCD. Okay, now we're going to use this number with a different purpose. So usually when we calculate least common denominator is to convert all of the fractions into like fractions. Okay, fractions with the same denominator. But right now we're going to do something different to this. I'm going to take the least common denominator and I'm going to multiply every single fraction that I have in my equation times that number that I just found. Okay, so 12 times the first fraction, then there's an equal sign. I'm going to put 12 again times the second fraction, which is 5 over 2. I have a minus sign. Then again, 12 times the fraction that I have there. Okay, third fraction. This is what we're going to be doing. Okay, how do I get rid of the fractions in the next step? You do some divisions. So 12 is on top, 4 is on bottom. So you're going to go ahead and divide those. 12 divided by 4 is going to be 3. And then you have to multiply that times the top of the fraction. Okay, the region on top of the fraction. Again, I'm going to do another division. 12 divided by 2, that's going to be 6. Oh, there's an equal sign here, right? And then 6 times the top of the fraction. In this case, the top of the fraction is just a number, 5. Okay, and I'm going to do this again. So minus 12 divided by 3 That's going to be 4 times the top of the fraction. My top of the fraction is 4x minus 1. Well, x minus 1, the top of the fraction. Okay, and just like that, we get rid of all the fractions, and we can move into the first step already, which is doing parentheses, getting rid of the parentheses. Okay, that I'm going to do by doing distributive property. So 3 times x, that's 3x. 3 times 9, that's 27. 6 times 5, that's 30. Negative 4 times x, that's negative 4x. And negative 4 times negative 1, that's positive 4. Okay, now that I reach this point, I perform one of these steps. I have to combine like terms in between. So on the left side, there's nothing to combine, but on the right side, I can combine 30 and positive 4. Okay, so I want to say 30 plus 4. 30 plus 4 is going to be 34. And I don't have anything else to combine on either side. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to the next step, the second step, which is adding and subtract to both sides until you don't have any more additions and subtractions. So pretty much deciding where you're going to send the letters and where you're going to send the numbers. Okay, so I'm going to choose to send the numbers to the left side. Okay, so I'm going to send this negative 4x to the left side of the equation. In order to do that, I will have to do the opposite operation, which is plus 4x. And if I do plus 4x on one side, I have to do plus 4x on the other side of my equation. Okay, so if I combine like terms, those two numbers cancel out. Excuse me, those two numbers are going to add up. 4x plus 3x is going to be 7x plus 27 equals 34. And these are the numbers that cancel out. Negative 4x plus 4x. Okay, sending all the letters to one side, then I'm going to send all the numbers to the other side. So I'm going to take this positive 27 and send it to the side with the opposite operation. So the opposite operation of a positive 27 is going to be negative 27. And if I do that to the left side, I got to do that to the right side of the equation. Okay, if I keep simplifying, these two numbers cancel out. And all I have in here is 34 minus 27, which if I combine those, the result is going to be 7. Okay, I don't have any more additions or subtractions. Then I'm going to move into multiplications and divisions. Okay, so how do I remove a multiplying 7? Dividing by 7. But if I do that to the left side, I have to do that to the right side. So these two numbers cancel out, and x equals 7 divided by 7, which is 1. Okay, this is the number that we're looking for. Okay. Now for I think I chose the wrong number one, but this is the one that we're working on, right? So that's the one that we're looking for. If we move to the next equation, now we're going to be doing this equation over here. Okay, so nothing over here matters anymore. This is what we're doing right now. Okay, but I'm going to use the whole space over here on the screen. So I have a fraction there that says x plus 6 divided by 4 equals 7 over 4 minus x minus 1 over 6. Okay, again, the first step or the step 0 will be get rid of fractions. And then the step 1 will be grouping symbols. Okay, get rid of the grouping symbols. Step 2 will be plus and minus, get rid of additions and subtractions. And then get rid of multiplications and divisions. So let's go ahead and get rid of the fractions. I have the denominators of 4 and 6. That means I have to get the least common denominator between those numbers, which happens to be 12. Okay, 12 can be divided by 4 and 12 can be divided by 6. So I'm going to take 12 and multiply it times every fraction that I have on my problem. Okay, 12 times x plus 6 divided by 4 equals 12 times the second fraction, which is 7 over 4, minus, and then I have 12 times the third fraction that I have in there, which is x minus 1 over 6. If you do some divisions, the least common denominator by the original denominator, you're going to get a new number that you have to multiply times the top of the fraction. Okay, so 12 divided by 4, that's going to be 3. times the top of my fraction. It's going to be equal to 12 divided by 4. That's also going to be 3 times the top of my fraction, which is 7, minus, and then I have 12 divided by 6. That's going to be 2 times the top of my fraction. Okay. Next step, or step 1, is going to be getting rid of the parentheses. So doing distributive property in there, 3 times x and 3 times 6. 3 times 7, that's 21. Negative 2 times x and negative 2 times negative 1, which happens to be a positive 2. At this point, since I did one of these mathematical conversions, I have to combine like terms. Okay. On the right side, I can combine 21 plus 2, which is what I'm going to do right now. Okay. 21 plus 2, that's 23. Now I have to send all the numbers to one side of the equation and all of the letters to the other side of the equation. Okay. So over here, I'm going to choose to send the letters to the left side of my equation. Okay. So let's see, this positive 2, I'm going to send it as a, this negative 2, I'm going to send it as a positive 2. And if I do that to the left side, I have to do that to the right side, both sides of the equation. Okay. If I combine like terms, those cancel out. And if I add those in the left, it's going to be 5x plus 18 equals 23. Okay. And then I have to send the numbers to the other side of the equation, which means subtracting 18 from both sides of the equation. Combining like terms as 5x equals 23 minus 18 is going to be 5. This is the equation up to now. Okay, at this point, the next thing to do is multiplications and divisions. So if I can get rid of that 5 through a division, divided by 5, then I have to do the same thing to the right side of the equation. Okay, and I don't think we can see this color right here. Okay. Combining like terms, so x equals 5 divided by 5, that's 1. Okay, so this is the answers that I'm looking for as well. Okay. The set of numbers that equals to 1. I just have some more problems to solve. The last kind of problems that I'm going to show you here also include fractions. Okay, so let me take a quick photo here. And it looks like I have two fractions to work with, x divided by 2 and minus x divided by 3 equals 7. Okay, the steps are going to be the same, which is get rid of the fractions first, and then get rid of the parentheses, get rid of the pluses and minus, and then get rid of multiplications and divisions. Okay, so in order to get rid of a fraction, you have to calculate again the least common denominator. And if I have a number by itself or a letter by itself, that's the same thing as having it divided by 1. Okay, so this is going to be a 7 divided by 1, and this is going to be a 7 divided by 1 as well. Okay, so the least common denominator between 2 and 3, the smallest number that can be divided by 2 and 3, it's going to be 6. So this is my least common denominator. I'm going to multiply every fraction times my least common denominator. So as the first fraction is 6 times the first fraction minus 6 times the second fraction equals 6 times the third fraction. We're going to do the same process. 6 divided by 2, that's going to be 3, times the top of the fraction, which happens to be x, minus 6 divided by 3, that's going to be 2, times the top of the fraction, which is x, equals 6 divided by 1, that's 6, times 7, times the top of the fraction, that's going to be 42. Okay, so if you combine like terms, 3x minus 2x is going to be x, And it looks like it's already solved, right? X equals 42. This is the answer that I'm looking for. Okay. The next example is really similar. Okay, same steps. Start getting rid of fractions, but first calculate the least common denominator of 4 and 5, which happens to be 20. Okay, 20 can be divided by 4, 20 can be divided by 5. So I'm going to take this least common denominator and multiply times every single fraction that I have. X over 4 minus 20 times the second fraction equals 20, the least common denominator, times the third fraction. Okay, let's go ahead and do it. 20 divided by 4, that's going to be 5, times the top of the fraction. Then 20 divided by 5, that's going to be 4, times the top of the fraction. And then 20 divided by 1, that's 20, times the top of the fraction. That's going to be 140. Okay, if you subtract those two, 5x minus 4x, it's going to be x equals 140. So this is what I'm looking for. Okay, so this is going to conclude the session. Okay, there's plenty examples that we just worked on. If you believe that you need more examples, you can always send me an email, let me know, so I can work out some videos with different examples for the chapters. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you around.